My paper takes up for consideration a 16th century Ramayana work by Chandrabati, the first woman poet in Bangla language who retold the story of Rama from the perspective of Sita. Chandrabati in her Ramayan used a highly sensitive musical language and was listened to by, quote, non-courtly audience and mainly rural folk and that too women. The text used in my paper is the translation in English by the renowned contemporary writer Navnita Dev Sen, published by Zuban, exclusive feminist press, in August 2023. It is now well known that Valmiki Ramayana, the Adi Kavya, from that Adi Kavya, various literary and folk offspring sprang up. It is perhaps not so well known that before Valmiki composed his epic, Ramakatha was in existence as a rich, generative field of activity. In the case of Chandrabati's Ramayana, the building blocks are no doubt provided by Valmiki Ramayana. However, Chandrabati is not writing an epic in Bangla language, but what is called a Baromasi perhaps, I don't know how to pronounce this Bengali word, Baromasi, Baromasi, correct? Baromasi, which is a narrative poem sung mainly by women raconteurs to village women folk and transmitted orally. So you can see now, it's an oral tradition and it is by women for women mostly. Hence, there are variations, omissions and additions. For example, the Lankan war is not the focus, but the birth, growing up and the ordeals and finally the disappearance of Sita is the focus in the narrative. It is important to note that the kernel of Chandrabati's conception of Sita is a symbol of auspiciousness and compassion as an incarnation of Sri Lakshmi, the consort of Sriman Narayan. You will take 1 minute to look at this hall. This hall is filled with images of Sri Lakshmi, okay, Ashtalakshmi. I used to wonder in the beginning, how is it? It has become like this. And so, when I chanced upon this book, you see, I thought it fits in well and it is to be presented in an ambience surrounded by Lakshmi all around. And every day, Swamiji gets the Lakshmi Puja performed here in the very premises. So this happened quite accidentally, Swamiji, but it's a blessing. So Sita is a symbol of auspiciousness and compassion as an incarnation of Sri Lakshmi, the consort of Sriman Narayan. How she views her mysterious advent upon the earth, the vicissitudes of her life, is a fascinating focus of this tale. In terms of the narrative, there are two striking parts which are different from mainstream Ramayana as we understand it. One has to do with Sita's birth. I think even the previous speaker did not mention this, so I have something fresh to say on this. Sita is born of an egg, which Mandodari had borne in her womb. After consuming the blood collected by Ravana from the chests of tortured saints and forests. Ravana, in his megalomaniac drive to conquer all the worlds and conquer all the gods and potentates, demands taxes from saints. So I think our government will just send enforcement officers to just punish these people. And so he wants to collect taxes from saints and ascetics who dwell in the forest. Unable to pay it, they do something fantastic. They take the kusha grass, cut their chests with its fine blade, draw the blood and give it to Ravana in lieu of tax. Ravana stores it in a casket and gives it to his queen Mandodari without telling her the fact and asks her to keep it safe, warning that it contains potent poison within quotes. Very soon, when Mandodari hears of how her husband is indulging in debauchery in the inner chambers with many women he has conquered and kept, she is distressed. She opens the casket, consumes the blood, thinking it to be poison. But eventually, it is learned that she has been pregnant and she would deliver, however, not a baby, but an egg. When Ravana is warned by the astrologers, the maiden born of the egg could wipe out his entire clan and dynasty and destroy the golden Lanka, he orders it to be. Moved by maternal tenderness, Mandodari begs him not to destroy the egg. Hence, Ravana orders for making of a casket to keep the egg inside and throw it into the open ocean, as pleaded by Mandodari. From the ocean, the casket reaches the river by the current of tidal waves and arrives at King Janaka's ghat. So, the origin of Sita itself is a mystery. Often, Sita laments she doesn't know who her parents are, who her brothers might be. She bodes ill for Ravana's household and his kingdom, but she ushers in prosperity and wealth and happiness in her foster parents' home. You may ask who her foster parents are. In the city of Mithila, lived a poor fisher couple, Madhav and Satavas, Satawas. The poet says, I quote, if a chaste woman has an honest husband at work, she suffers no pain from the lack of food and clothes. Just as Kuchela's home was transformed into an opulent palace by the grace of his childhood friend Krishna, Madhav's hut is transformed into an abode of wealth and light by the arrival of the egg in the casket. The poet sings, the lines are all beautiful, I have only quoted a few. The long night of suffering was over, happiness had dawned, pain and sorrow left Sata forever from that day. From that day onwards, Sata's home became Lakshmi's residence. Sata, who is described as a Janma Dukkini, that is, here is a woman who is born to suffer, Janma Dukkini, she looks like Lakshmi herself, very Lakshmi herself, remarks Sata's neighbors. The fisher woman has a dream in which she sees a beautiful baby girl born coming out of the egg, and therefore she just takes the casket to the queen with only one request. She requests the queen, please name her after me, call her Sita. So Sata, the foster mother in some way, she gives the name Sita. Here we note the naming of Sita is different from mainstream version where Sita means furrow. She is a child found in the furrow by King Janaka while ploughing the Yagabhumi. Here in Chandrabati's narrative, she is named after the woman who preserved the egg, Sata. When the baby is born, again and again the poet uses the word auspicious. The word auspicious is used in an incantatory manner to create a kind of effect by the repetition of the term auspicious throughout, auspicious sign, auspicious tale, etc. Lakshmi was born in the place of Mithila, says the poet Chandrabati, and this girl will be worshipped throughout the world. She insists, pay attention to this auspicious tale. It's not a happy tale, but pay attention to the auspicious tale. Parallel to Sita's auspicious birth is the story of the birth of Lord Narayan to King Dasharatha. Instead of the payasam, we call it payasam in Tamil, in Hindi and Sanskrit you call it sheer. Instead of the payasam distributed to his queen in the mainstream Ramayana, in Chandrabati's narration, there is a mango fruit which Dasharatha gives to Kausalya, who shares it with his other wives. But the twist in the tale happens when Manthara, old in her age, with a diabolical mind, she just asks Kaikeyi to get the seed of the mango fruit, which she alleges Kausalya has kept hidden, and consume it. Weak-willed king that Dasharatha is, he obliges Kaikeyi. Kaikeyi eats the seed and becomes pregnant and gives birth to a daughter. This is something important. This is the kernel of the story. So, that daughter is named Kukuya, Kuyya, meaning a Lakshmi. Swamiji, this is very interesting. Sita stands for Lakshmi and Kukuya stands for a Lakshmi. So, the poet laments, in the home of Lakshmi, a Lakshmi, opposite of Lakshmi is a Lakshmi, is born. The bitter result of the bitter seed of the mango fruit. What mantra was to Kaikeyi, alas, Kukuya comes to be in Rama and Sita's life, wrecking their marital happiness. I'll just omit some portion. Book 3 presents the happy moments in Sita's life with Rama, both of them back in Ayodhya. They are compared to Lord Narayan and Lakshmi while playing the game of dice. This moment is a fateful event in Sita's life, playing the game with Rama. They enjoy so much romance without a care, marked by Singara Rasam, scene of enjoyment all around, teasing. The final wager is won by Sita. Therefore, the poet says, the poor man by a woman defeated. Rama is defeated by a poor man defeated by a woman who was being teased with sweet words. As a boon, Sita expresses, this is why I call it fateful event. As a boon, she has to ask for the boon from Rama. As a boon, she expresses the desire to quote, to visit the sacred wood once more. She wants to go to the sacred wood. The poet Chandrabati says, the nights of pleasure are over. The whole thing turns now from Lakshmi to Alakshmi. The nights of pleasure are over. Choose your boon with care, dear daughter of Janak, the poet sadly wants. There is a recurrent motive when the poet says, fate cannot be overruled. Alas, what a boon you have asked for, dear daughter of Janak. Evoking a somber, prognosticating mood. Fate comes in the form of Kukuya. As I said, Kukuya is the daughter of Kaikeyi. Kukuya goes to Sita's chamber when she is in a languorous state, 5 months pregnant. A new dimension is introduced by the Bangla poet. Instead of Kuni, we have Kukuya, Rama's sister. We get a picture of her past life, how she had a scheming nature and she just wrecked the life of her husband's family, and then she is sent back to Dasharatha, and then she continues her machinations against a peaceful life in Rama's palace. Kukuya pesters Sita, this is the narrative, Kukuya pesters Sita to draw Ravan's picture. Poor Sita confesses, she doesn't know. You remember, we have been told repeatedly that Sita never looked at Ravana. She had no idea how Ravana, because she was such a pativrata, she never looked at another person and so on. So, but Kukuya just cannot take this confession of Sita that she doesn't know much about the physical appearance of Ravana. But Kukuya will not have it. So, a crooked smile on her face, she repeated the question. Poison fruit of a poison creeper, the seed of a poison tree, the simile of poison, the smile of poison in her heart created havoc. It's very dangerous. With a smile of poison in her heart, she created havoc in Rama's household, rues the poet. We notice here a sharp contrast between the two women. Sita was born of the blood of saints, whereas Kukuya was born presumably from a poisoned fruit. The difference robs Ayodhya of its auspiciousness and joy. Kukuya insists that Sita draw Ravana's image. Bullied by the demon of a woman, she draws upon her fan the 10-headed Ravana, the demon, and out of fatigue, Sita falls asleep. The scheming Kukuya places the palm leaf fan on Sita's innocent chest within quotes. She insinuates to Rama, she goes to Rama and then talks to him. She insinuates to Rama that Sita loves Ravana. The poet says, from the sweet fruit, Kaikeyi got Bharat. From the bitter seed, she got a terrible Kukuya. This is the poet's comment. The scene of Kukuya heckling and hedging Rama to go to Sita's chamber and see for himself how she sleeps with the picture of Ravana drawn on the fan upon her chest evokes in the reader an inexplicable sense of anxiety and foreboding. The shocking utterance of Kukuya to Rama. I'm very unwilling to read this sentence, but I have to read it. The unchaste, shameless Sita actually loves Ravana. It's chilling to hear for a reader, especially a pious reader. In her peroration to Rama, on Rama being gullible, there is a symbolic contrast between ambrosia, which is nectar, and poison. Further, Sita's image, I'll just drop this, I'll move ahead. The language of Baromasse genre is used to the maximum effect in its folk speech and the imagery without any attempt at mitigating its rawness and gentrifying the thought. Our Pauranikas also expound certain portions, but they also gentrify the thought. They don't present it as rudely, shall we say, in such a raw manner. But there is no attempt at gentrifying the thought, because Baromasse is a kind of folk kind of a presentation, narrative. Rama is trapped by his sister, stung by her vile language. The sight of innocent Sita creates, on the other hand, an ominous feeling. The poet says in sorrow, a poison arrow has pierced his heart. About the terrible devastation, Sita knew nothing at all. Sita knew nothing at all about the devastation that is to come. The poet invokes images of forests burning with wildfires, the color of blood to imply loss of reason, and man succumbing to passion. There is a tragic note struck when the poet says, Sita Devi would burn along with Ram as well. The city of Ayodhya would burn as well. The most important impact of the diabolical move by Kukuya is imaged by the poet as the loss of Lakshmi Kataksham. When Sita is just alienated from Rama, then Lakshmi Kataksham is gone from Ayodhya. Abandoned by Lakshmi, the kingdom would be destroyed. Paying heed to others' words lead to your own destruction, O Rama, Chandrabati says. Poor Ram, you have totally lost your mind. Being a folk narrative in verse, the pathos and sadness of what awaits Sita are captured in a lyrical flow. Let me see if I can read it or I'll skip it because you need time. What follows makes for a poignant reading. Rama directs Lakshmana to take Sita to the woods and leave her there. Rama blames it on Sita for the destruction of Golden Lanka, Bali and Kishkinda, Ayodhya. All are burning. He even asks which god created Sita. With which poison? Who knows? I am burning, burning, burning. In the poison, my inside burns. Lakshmana silently rues, quote, the curse of chaste woman has affected Lord Narayan. Sita is fair in accepting her lot and her being the cause of the suffering of many women while she was in Sri Lanka. She sadly uses the refrain, no one is to blame, brother Lakshmana. It is my destiny. I know not who my parents are. I know not who my brothers might be. Sita poignantly says, this I liked very much, Swamiji, I am but mass, M-O-S-S, floating across the water. I am but mass on the river, floating where the current takes you. No one knows where I shall go tomorrow. No one knows where I shall go tomorrow. She says in a philosophical mode, I shall not apologize. I shall not be sorry. I shall accept my destiny with bowed head. Even with a husband like Rama and a brother like Lakshman, due to my own bad luck, I don't have a home of my own. What a sad statement. I don't have a home of my own. I don't want to cause suffering to anyone again. In a most moving statement of hers, she says about Hanuman, in his heart, I have a happy home. She says she has a happy home in Hanuman's heart. What follows is a description of Ayodhya laid waste when Sita Devi was sent to the forest. Bad luck grabbed the city of Ayodhya. Hence, as sage Vasishta's advice, Rama decides to perform Ashwamedha Yaga and consents to have Sita brought back from the forest as required for the ritualistic purpose. But his words to the sage on Sita are disappointing to me as a contemporary reader. You'll forgive me, especially after Tulsi Ramayan, you'll have to forgive me if I read that, you see. How can I bring her back now that I have sent her into the exile? The next sentence is more shocking. What I have once abandoned, something I cannot pick up again. All the pious people should forgive me here. Rama seems to care more for dharma than for satyam. In his paper, he made an equation between satyam and dharma. But in the temporal order, there is a difference between dharma and satya. And so, he says, people will criticize me if I just take her back. My dharma, if I lose my dharma as well, see, people will criticize me. He reasons it out saying, whatever the elders do, the youngsters will follow. That is why I am afraid of bringing Sita back. His one condition on bringing Sita back is that she must prove herself first by going through the fire ordeal. I have written elsewhere about the anthropological importance of fire ordeal in our culture. Even Nandanar is asked to enter into the fire in my place, Chidambaram, supposed to be by all the Dikshitas, you see, to prove his purity. So there is a kind of great professor is there, Sanskrit professor is there, but still, this is an anthropological aspect. Why should we think of this fire ordeal, you see? And then even today people walk across a fire, charcoal and so on. So there is a very happy interlude like scene, this I thought I should mention. When Hanuman is captured by Lav and Kush, they are there in Valmiki Ashram. Lav and Kush I use the word Lav and Kush because it is in Bangla, it is not in Sanskrit, so I don't say Lava and Kucha. and they capture Hanuman. They just treat him as a pet and they try to bring Hanuman into the hermitage. There is an enjoyable humor when the twins treat Hanuman. They call him the black-faced monkey. Hanuman is called the black-faced monkey as their pet. Hanuman submits himself to the children by decreasing. They couldn't carry Hanuman because his tail was so heavy. So Hanuman submits himself to the children by decreasing the weight of his huge tail and making it easy for them to carry him to the hermitage to show it to Sita. However, Hanuman is terrified when Sita tells him of what has happened, and Hanuman says, this was the end of Rama Leela. Okay, Sita Leela is there and there is Ram Leela. During her meeting with Rama, when Lakshmana takes her to the court, there is so much poignancy. As a wife, I think all the homely women will like this portion. As a wife, she is very much concerned about the appearance of Ram and his face. When he declares his intent, Sita remains calm and says, entering the fire is not a big deal for me. It is your dear face that I had not seen for so many years. Why does your face look so drained, Rama, so exhausted? Your regal robes and your royal coat so worn out. It's something so very touching. Even in extreme distress, Sita is so kind and considerate. She avows, fire cannot touch me, chaste woman that I am. There is a comparison made of Sita and Kannaki by Ipshita Chadha, who has written the introduction to this English translation. Fire cannot touch me, chaste woman that I am. But if I do enter fire today, I do not wish to return. The ordeal takes a bizarre turn. I think this might be of great interest to you, and that is one of the core aspects of this narration. The ordeal takes a bizarre turn when Kukuya rushes and offers to light Sita's fire. The poet says, not a soul agreed to light the fire, but Kukuya comes forward to light the fire with these harsh words. Please forgive me, it is there in the poem, so I have to read these words. I shall light the fire, I am not afraid, let her burn to death, that unchaste woman of my brother. As luck would have it, or ill luck would have it, I should say, a strong wind blows and Kukuya's hair catches fire and burns all her hair and her face. She cries aloud, I am burning to death. I told Swamiji about this earlier. It is Queen Sita with her lotus palm, the poet says, healed and cooled Kukuya's burning body. So it is Queen Sita with her lotus palm symbolizing Sri Lakshmi and healed and cooled Kukuya's burning body. The public, you see, at least some of them, the public are unreliable. It is election time, so you will see how unreliable people are, you see. Some of the people, they say, what a chaste woman she must be to just put out fire with her bare hand. There is no reason to put such a woman through test. But for every good person, there is a bad person. And therefore the nasty ones in the crowd say, they shout, had she been an ordinary woman, man's wife, the king would have burnt her on the fire or thrown her into the ocean. So poor Rama is caught between the good and the bad opinion. Hearing this, Rama himself, the poet calls here, the jewel of Raghuvamsha, set fire with his own hands. Something so very difficult to swallow. The poet says, a divine disorder occurred. The earth trembled, whole of Ayodhya trembled, netherworld rivers surfaced. Vasumati, mother of earth and Sita's mother, appeared. She beckoned to Sita to come to her. Her maternal utterance is so significant. I shall take back my poor daughter into the netherworld. Let King Ram too live happily with his kingdom and his subjects. I shall take Sita, my daughter, back with me. They descend into the netherworld, leaving Rama to wail, alas, alas. Brave Hanuman weeps at the gate. He asks a significant question. What have you done, Lord Raghunath Ram? What have you done by listening to nasty men? Ram, you have lost Sita forever. The poet concludes. Chandrabati says, it is always an impersonal narration. Chandrabati says in tears, it is nobody's fault. All our joys and sorrows, fruits of karma, Vidhatha alone decides. Vidhatha. Vidhatha is God of fate. Conclusion. We have come to know this somber version of Sita's unfortunate destiny from Chandrabati's Ramayan, a Bangla 16th century folk narrative called Baramasi, sung by women to poor women folk. What was my interest in this? The bards are women, so are the listeners. They come from a background of suffering and endurance. These are the qualities which appeal to them in Sita's personality. They have suffered and Sita has also suffered. Far from being that of a combative feminist, today's feminists, you see, will not brook Sita being treated like that. But the language of Sita in Baramasi is not at all that of a combative feminist who challenges patriarchy. Sita's language is humble and accepting of her fate. Her words to Rama are solicitous of his well-being. It is her wifely concern that touches our heart, even though Rama's words are very harsh. At the same time, there is a kind of Greek element in the repeated reference to fate. Sita is fated to live a life of exile again and again. In this narrative, there are features which are the aspect of Sita as an incarnation of Lakshmi, and hence connoting auspiciousness and prosperity must be stressed. If her birth bodes ill for Ravana's household and golden Lanka, it ushers in joy and wealth among the poorest of the poor, namely the fisher folk, who worshipped a casket containing the egg, which Mandodari caused to be thrown into the ocean. One feature about these fisher folk, which is a parallel to Sita's life, is that their life may be modest, but their spirit and piety are rich. They live a modest life, but their spirit and piety are rich. Their home is filled, like Kuchela's home, with wealth. But even when they become wealthy, they do not lose their sense of value and never arrogate the wealth to themselves. They recognize the hand of Lord Narayan and Sri Lakshmi in transforming their life from penury to plenitude. Similarly, in Sita's life too, there is a symbolic auspiciousness and prosperity. So long as Rama and Sita live happily together, Ayodhya flourishes, the subjects are happy. During the game of dice, it's the brightest portion in an otherwise somber tale. There is much mutual love, exchange of wit, spirit of enjoyment, with happy maids and servants surrounding them, enjoying themselves and teasing them. But when Rama is compelled to subject Sita to the fire ordeal to prove her chastity, the whole atmosphere thickens with foreboding and sorrow. When Sita is sent to exile, whole of Ayodhya loses its splendor and vivacity, and even Rama feels jaded. Sri Lakshmi has abandoned Ayodhya, stripped the subject of their joy and right to live prosperously. Nature fails. There are two other women I want to just focus on. Mandodari. Ravana's consort is seen as a very sensitive woman who cares for conduct and righteousness. Her maternal sadness and tenderness when Ravana advises her to destroy the egg, that comes out very, very clearly. It offsets the self-serving, cruel ethos that prevails in Lankan court and Lankan polity. She wishes well by the egg and the baby that it contains within itself. There is no foreboding in her attitude to the child. Ravana is afraid of that egg, but Sita is not. She wants the child to survive. Mandodari is not. So, there are the holy trinity of three women in this, Mandodari, Sattva and Sita. This is challenged by the unalloyed crookedness of Kukuya, sister of Bharata and Rama. The motivation of Kuni in spoiling the mind of Kaikeyi have been well discussed in all circles. That is discussed in the book on Ramayana very well. We ask, what is the motivation of Kukuya in maligning Sita in the eye of Rama and slandering her, spreading calumny against her? The poet suggests that she does not need any motivation. Some people have wickedness built into them. Their genes is wicked, and therefore there is not an iota of goodness in Kukuya. She doesn't require any kind of justification. Therefore, there is a supernatural explanation offered by the poet to strengthen the psychological explanation. What is the supernatural explanation? Kukuya is a Lakshmi if Sita is Lakshmi. I have repeated this point. Kukuya is a Lakshmi if Sita is Sri Lakshmi. A Lakshmi is the opposite of all that Sri Lakshmi stands for. Kukuya stands for disharmony, wickedness. When we teach Othello, Shakespeare's Othello, we ask the question, why is Iago like this? Why does he want to wreck the life of Othello and Desdemona, who live happily despite all their differences? And there is a great explanation. There is a motiveless malignity. In human nature, there is a malignity which does not require any motive. And therefore, you see, there are people like Iago and there are people like Kukuya. So, she is foul-mouthed. Her qualities are the opposite of what Mahalakshmi stands for. With Swamiji's permission, I would say, when I was wondering how to conclude this portion, my paper, which is on Mahalakshmi, suddenly I remembered, every day I was reading Sri Aurobindo's little book, The Mother, which is meant for aspirants and spiritual devotees and so on. Sri Aurobindo writes about the 4 aspects of the Divine Mother. What are the 4 aspects? Maheshwari, Mahakali, Mahalakshmi and Mahasaraswati. Together they constitute the Divine Mother. And the third portion is on Mahalakshmi. Sri Aurobindo writes, it's a very little book and it's a real, I should say, every day when you read it, you see, you understand the need for a kind of integrated aspiration. And the mother of Sri Aurobindo Ashram has read this portion on Mahalakshmi. It is there in YouTube. I have taken certain crucial portions which describe Mahalakshmi's character or nature of Mahalakshmi. I quote Aurobindo, harmony and beauty of the mind and soul, harmony and beauty of thought and feeling and beauty in every outward act and movement, harmony and beauty of life and surrounding. This is the demand of Mahalakshmi. I must say that Swamiji conducted a seminar on Sri Lakshmi. I was quite beleaguered by the kind of statements that were made by Sri Lakshmi, on Sri Lakshmi by the people who presented. But one thing was very clear. Mahalakshmi makes a very heavy demand on you. What is the demand? It's a demand for harmony, beauty, happiness in everything that surrounds you. The Sadguru also talked about Mahalakshmi. There's a comparable passage in her Upadeshams. Sri Aurobindo says, to be close to Mahalakshmi is a profound happiness, and to feel her within their heart is to make existence a rapture and a marvel. 2 words are used. To be close to Mahalakshmi is a kind of a profound happiness, and to be able to hold her in your heart, to make your existence a rapture. Rapture is the highest form of ecstasy. Sri Aurobindo's language is always not highfalutin but really ecstatic here when he writes about her. So, rapture and a marvel. Marvel is a wonder. Sri Aurobindo also says, when will not Lakshmi be with you? But all that is ugly and mean, all that is base, all that is poor, sordid, squalid, all that is brutal, all that is coarse, repel her advent. So, ugliness, meanness, baseness, anything that is sordid, squalid, these are all opposite of Sri Lakshmi. When Ayodhya falls into that kind of situation, Sri Lakshmi lives. Where love and beauty are reluctant to be born, she does not come. Lakshmi does not come. One word was used during the Sri Lakshmi conference. It was said that Sri Lakshmi is described as Asthira. She is not Sthira. So she just lives. So we take it in a very simple sense. Wealth is here with you one moment, next minute wealth leaves you. That is not the meaning. Why is she Asthira? When we have filled our sacred chalice, our psyche is a sacred chalice. Sri Aurobindo describes our psyche as a sacred chalice. When we have filled it up with brutal things, coarse things, which repel her, love and beauty, or reluctant to be born, she does not come. Where it is mixed and disfigured with baser things, she turns soon to depart from your life. That is why she is Asthira. She, not Sthira, but Asthira. She turns soon to depart, or cares little to pour her riches. So, we associate crudely Mahalakshmi with wealth and prosperity and so on. But there is that inner meaning. And then if she finds herself in men's heart, surrounded with selfishness, hatred, jealousy, malignance, envy, strife, if treachery and greed, ingratitude mixed in the sacred chalice, that's where the word comes, we have within ourselves a sacred chalice. If we just fill our sacred chalice with grossness and passion, unrefined desire, we degrade the devotion in such hearts. And then this gracious, beautiful God will not linger. That's the last sentence. This gracious, beautiful God will not linger. Now, we understand why the Bengali woman poet Chandrabati made her Sita an embodiment of Lakshmi. So when Sita leaves Ayodhya, or when we send Sri Lakshmi out of our earth, all our resources will be completely depleted. I don't want to take any further time. Thank you very much, Swamiji, for giving me this opportunity.